We are going to start our project today is Jester the Snail, and it is available on Etsy. We have 4 different fabrics. They color coordinate. You can get these at Walmart, and they come in packs of 4, and then that way you don't have to do any of the coordination yourself. It's all been done for you. So this is got a walkthrough, and I really prefer the Etsy walkthroughs to the professional McCall's, etc. Those patterns are hard to read. You will not have a problem reading an Etsy pattern. So I'm going to get my cutting board out, and we start with the contrasting fabric, and you know how to figure out which way is the grain. Each of these pattern pieces I've already cut out. They have the arrows. They give you the direction for the grain. Remember that if you're going to use the same material, that you're going to want to put the facing on one side and then the facing folded over facing on the other side for the mirror. And so we're, going to cut this out, pin this down. I like to cut out the pieces before I actually cut it out. I like to pin everything. Just remember, this pattern is just so good with the contrast and everything. I really like the colors. And, I picked the colors, but yeah. I really like the way it goes. You see how it says, if you're going to have a mirror image. This is kind of a uniform sort of pattern piece, but especially if it's not uniform, if it's not mirror image, you're going to want to make sure that you have your pieces so that they're either both facing each other like a mirror, or they're both facing outward, the pattern. This pattern comes with a walkthrough that is really good. You can see that she has each step here, and it's really simple and easy to understand, way better than your regular store-bought pattern. And you can even email her if you have any questions. I'm sure she'll help you out, but it's just super easy. It's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And she even has on the back the materials that you will need, and what kind of fabric to buy, etc., etc. So that's why I really like these kind of patterns. Here we have the headpiece, and you see right here is where we're going to leave it open. So we take all the pins out, and we're going to pin it down, but we're going to remember to keep this area open so we can turn it inside out. So on the head, there's lots of these little twists and turns. Don't forget to backstitch to lock your stitch down where it tells you to begin and end, because of all these corners and everything. It's going to be really important to remember all the, it's going to need to be strong to turn it inside out. So take all the time you need. You see, I got this on fast forward because there's so many twists and turns on this, but take your time. Leave your needle down if you're going to pivot, and just take your time and adjust with the wheel yourself if you have to. Now a little bit about the tools you're going to need. I use this cuticle thing and a hemostat clamp to turn things inside out. You can buy these on Etsy or eBay. They're really useful, and you're going to need them when you turn especially complicated shapes. But even like just if you're just doing legs and arms for a doll, it really helps to have these little hemostats. I have the small ones like this, and then I have bigger ones for bigger dolls or bigger spaces. So once you get this, you know, all turned out, then you're going to use the little cuticle stick or your own dowel that comes with the stuffing. Each box comes, I think each bag also comes with the little stick that you can use for stuffing. And once you're all done, you're just going to push everything into shape. And now you can see, you know, we got the little, where the little eyeballs are going to go, and or the feelers that are at the bottom. And you're just going to push with your cuticle stick till you get everything out and the circle as round as you can get it. And it's going to look a little something like this. This next part, we're taking some Snail stems, and we're going to put them together. We're using 2 sticks, and I'm folding them together, and then I'm going to twist them just like the directions. Follow the directions in the walkthrough. They're pretty good and pretty clear. This is great for adding volume, but of course we're mostly using it so we can have these bendable little eyeballs and little antenna things. That's just another part that makes this super adorable and extra cute. And we're just going to insert the chenille stems on the inside, exactly the way it says in the pattern. Consult your pattern when you're doing this one. You know, it goes from top to bottom on one side and then top to bottom on the other side. And now we're going to stuff our little head. This is another place where the hemostats and the stick for that I got it like at Sally Beauty Supply or something like that. The cuticle stick is really comes in handy because it's smaller than the regular dowel, and you can really get the stuffing on the inside there. You don't want to overstuff it, so just, you know, use your good judgment how you'd like it to look. You can always remove your stitches, your ladder stitches, and take some stuffing out later if you don't like the way it looks. The next step is working on the body. It's really pretty simple. Make sure you have right sides facing each other when you're doing it. You're going to be doing this all pretty much inside out until you turn it right side out. You're going to want to pin down the body to the belly because there's lots of curves, and it's just going to get very confusing if you don't pin it down, and you might mess up your seam. So this part you need to be a little more careful on than the other parts. Just when you're sewing, make sure you have the top and the bottom together. Every needle you take out, every pin you take out, make sure that you are checking to see if your seams are still, make sure you still have that 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides. Now turning the body inside out using our nice little clamp, and now we're going to stuff it. Use the cuticle pusher stick to get that tail in really good. You want to get it nice and firm at the very end, and that's the only thing you have to really worry about, getting nice and firm inside. Then the rest you can do it as thick or as thin as you want, as squishy as you want. It's up to you. Just make sure you got the full body, and remember you're going to be sewing through it. Remember, for all the stitching body parts to head parts to shell to body, you're going to want to use a ladder stitch, and you're going to double up your thread, or you want to use like button or quilter's thread, because you want it nice and strong. The author of this pattern has a really good sketch on how to do a ladder stitch, but you can always go to YouTube and get yourself a tutorial on the ladder stitch. But they call it a ladder stitch because it looks a little bit like a ladder. But don't stress out about it too much. If you get a good matching color, people aren't even going to see the stitches. They're not going to see it unless they really, really look for it. Most people don't, so don't stress out about it. Next step is, of course, we're going to sew the head to the body, and you just pick which side you want. You know, once you get the little eyeballs on, I picked some Christmas color beads to use for the eyes. And once you get the little eyeballs on, you're going to just stitch the head to the body. Then with the little eyeballs, now we're going to stitch our head to the body, and we're going to use the nice thick thread. I think we will put it facing the light color outside. Now we're going to be sewing the shell, and just remember to keep your 1/4 inch seam allowance, and most of the entire way through you're not going to really need to pivot all that much. You can follow the curves without stopping. You're going to need to stop at the end and make sure you stay stitch before you end, and you're leaving that space so that you can turn it inside out. I'm using my hemostat again, my clamp, to turn it inside out. And when you got it turned inside out, make sure you use your little cuticle stick or dowel or whatever you're using and push it all the way through to the top. This one is going to take a long time to stuff, but just remember, you're going to have to work little teeny tiny bit by little teeny tiny bit until you get the very end of the shell done and stuffed really good. And once it gets wide enough, you can stuff it without much trouble, but the end is always the hardest, and so you're going to have to remember to just, until you got the end, you're just going to go a little bit at a time. You want to get it nice and stiff there at the end. Once you got your shell all stitched together, then you're going to take your doll needle and your quilting thread and get ready to sew onto the body. Now we're all ready to stitch the shell to the body. You will want to use like a nice long doll needle, and if you're using the quilting thread, at this point I put my thread through the beeswax candle. Beeswax helps it go through easier, so you may want to do that. Make sure that you try to hide your stitches, so pick the underside and give yourself some nice spaces.
In the game? Look at that. Is that super cute or what? Oh my gosh. I just love it. It's adorable. It's so cute. The Christmas snail. I love it. So remember that's Oddnest on Etsy. Jester the snail. I recommend it. This is what it comes out looking like. Super cute gift. Nobody is going to have a gift like this. Remember, you can get your quilt squares. You can do it with quilt squares. Get a package of fat quarters that are all color coordinated. And then you don't have to do the matching yourself. You just use all those. And it's generally perfect. Thanks, guys, for the first stream. We'll see you Monday. Bye.